You know that feeling when you have a brilliant idea for an app or a piece of software, but when it finally gets built, it's just this clunky, confusing mess? Well, here's a secret. The problem usually isn't the code, it's the translation. Today, we are going to decode the three crucial documents that turn a great business idea into even greater software: the BRD, the SRS, and the FRD. Let's dive in.
I mean, we've all seen this happen, right? A company sinks millions of dollars into some brand new app. They launch it with this massive marketing campaign, and it's a total flop. It either solves a problem literally nobody has, or it's so complicated that you can't figure out how to use it. So, what is going on here?
Well, here's the surprising truth. The failure almost never has to do with the code itself. You could have world-class developers on the job. The real problem, the thing that sinks the ship, is a breakdown in translation. It's a failure to perfectly communicate the business vision to the technical team that has to build it.
And this communication gap, man, it's like the silent killer of tech projects. When the expectations are all misaligned right from the very beginning, you're not just building software anymore. You're building a very, very expensive misunderstanding. So how do we fix this? How do we bridge that gap? Well, it all comes down to a three-step flow of information that we can think of as the why, the what, and the how. First, the Business Requirements Document, or BRD, establishes the why. Then, the Software Requirements Specification, or SRS, defines the what. And finally, the Functional Requirements Document, or FRD, details the how.
All right, let's start at the top with the strategic vision. This is the business requirements document. Now think of it this way. If you're building a house, the BRD isn't the blueprint, not yet. It's that first crucial conversation where you tell the architect why you need a house and you describe how you actually envision living in it.
See, the BRD is written in plain English on purpose. It's for a non-technical audience. Think executives, investors, stakeholders. Its entire job is to get everybody in the room nodding their heads, agreeing on the core business problem we're trying to solve, and what a win actually looks like for the company.
And a good BRD is so much more than just a wish list. It actually forces you to define measurable goals. It makes you be crystal clear about what's in scope, but just as importantly, what is out of scope. It even includes a cost-benefit analysis to prove that this project is actually worth doing in the first place.
And this is so important because a weak BRD is basically the original sin of a failed project. If that why is fuzzy, you can absolutely end up with a technical marvel that is, I'm sorry to say, a complete and total business failure.
Okay, so the BRD has aligned everyone on the why. We all know the mission. Now it's time to define the what. And this is where the Software Requirements Specification, or SRS, comes into play. If the BRD was that initial conversation about your lifestyle, the SRS, well, that's the architect's full set of blueprints.
The SRS is the master plan. It's the document that translates those high-level business needs from the BRD into a really detailed technical blueprint. It tells the project managers and the developers exactly what the system needs to do, feature by feature.
Now, the SRS makes a really critical distinction. On one hand, you have functional requirements. That's what the system does, like processing a payment. On the other hand, you have non-functional requirements. That's how well it does it, like processing that payment in under 3 seconds. Think of it like a car. The engine and wheels are functional. The speed and the safety rating, those are non-functional. And you absolutely need both.
And this is exactly why those non-functional requirements are so incredibly important. An e-commerce site that takes your money but takes 30 seconds to do it, that's a failure. A password reset that works but lets hackers break in, that's a disaster. Quality isn't just a nice-to-have, it's an absolute must-have.
Okay, we've covered the why and the what. Now it is time to get really granular with the how. This brings us to the Functional Requirements Document. This is the nitty-gritty. This is the wiring diagram for the electrician, the plumbing layout for the plumber, every last detail.
The FRD leaves absolutely nothing to chance. It gives developers and testers the exact step-by-step instructions they need to build and verify every single function. There's no ambiguity, no guesswork. It's all laid out.
So how do you get rid of all that ambiguity? Well, for starters, you avoid vague requirements like this one. The system must be fast and user-friendly. What does fast even mean? What does user-friendly mean? These are subjective, they're untestable, and honestly, they're just a recipe for disappointment.
A strong requirement, on the other hand, is specific, measurable, and verifiable. The system shall process a transaction in under 200 milliseconds. See? A tester can run a simple experiment and say pass or fail. There's no debate. There are no arguments. It either did it or it didn't. So, every good requirement is clear, precise, and consistent with all the others. But you know what? Most importantly, it's verifiable. Because if you can't test it, it's not a requirement. It's just a wish.
So why? Why go through all this discipline? Why all these documents and all these rules? Because this, right here, this is how you build successful software. This is how you take a fuzzy idea and turn it into a valuable, tangible product.
The flow is actually pretty simple when you look at it. The BRD aligns the strategy, the why. The SRS creates the blueprint, the what. And the FRD guides the actual implementation, the how. It's a cascade of clarity, moving from the biggest picture down to the smallest detail.
And here's the real payoff. This process is like a bulletproof vest against building the wrong thing. It bridges that huge chasm between the business vision and the technical reality, and it kills risk at every single step of the way. But wait, how do you make absolutely sure that nothing gets lost in translation between these documents? Well, with something called a Requirements Traceability Matrix, or RTM. It sounds complicated, but it's really just a simple tool that connects every business need to a specific feature, and that feature to a specific test. It is the ultimate accountability tracker.
So, the next time you have a big idea, ask yourself this question. Is it clear enough to become great software? Because, let's be honest, a great idea is just the starting line. Turning that idea into a winner takes clarity. It takes communication, and it takes a process that ensures everyone is building the exact same thing for the exact right reason.